Hey guys, what's going on? Tony Maritato here. So in this Medicare Minute, this is a little bit of a different one. This is more of a mindset episode, and I want to talk about a couple terms that we use often interchangeably, but I think it's important to bring distinction between these. We're going to talk about cost versus price versus worth versus value. And at the end of this video, I want to talk to you about why I think Medicare has a place in pretty much any portfolio. Just because you choose to run a business model that has a price point, let's just say of $250, and you're thinking, well, I can't provide the level of patient experience that I want to provide at a Medicare reimbursement. I understand. But the Medicare reimbursement is a component of the overall business model. And I want you to think of it in context of the big picture. So let's get into some of the terminology, and then I'll explain more about what I'm talking about and how you can make a Medicare fit into your business model. So let's look at this website. This is about the best that I've found so far. When we're talking about value is the usefulness or desirability of a good or a service, how much you love it, what is it worth to me, to you, to the consumer, right? So value is essentially placed and determined by the person buying or exchanging goods and services. What's the value? And I always say, like, the value of a dollar bill, right, should be absolute. The absolute value of a dollar is 100 pennies. But the value of a dollar to me right now today really doesn't have much value. Like, a dollar isn't going to make the difference between me buying something or not buying something. Whereas to my 6-year-old son, a dollar has tremendous value. When they're selling lemonade for 25 cents and someone pulls up, gives them a dollar bill and says, keep the change. Like, now a dollar can buy them candy. A dollar can buy them, help them pay for an app that they want for an electronic device. Like, a dollar has so much more value to my 6-year-old than it does to me at age 44. Worth, on the other hand, so an expected selling price of some form of property, an appraisal, when we talk about worth, we're talking about a viewpoint of the owner. And so worth is, okay, what am I willing to accept in exchange for this product or service, right? What is this worth to me? What's the value? Worth is more in terms of monetary exchange. So if I'm going to give up an hour of my life, what is an hour of my life worth to me? What is an hour of your life worth to you? For some people, it's worth $35. They're giving up an hour of their life for $35. They're receiving, the enjoyment of providing a service that they want to give. So it's kind of this weird value exchange where a staff physical therapist, like when I was working as a staff PT, I just loved being a PT. I loved treating patients. I loved the feeling that I received from the patient saying, wow, nobody's ever done that with me before, right? So that was my value. My value was very high on the time that I was spending as a physical therapist delivering care. What was it worth? At that time, it was worth $35 for an hour. Like, that was the exchange I made. So I want you to understand that when you're looking at pricing, which we're going to talk about here in a second, you're really looking at two ends of the spectrum. You're looking at the value. What is the value? Let's say the client in this case is going to place on the benefit they receive. And what is the worth that they're willing to pay for that experience, for that benefit. And so cost or price. Now, there's some definitions even within cost and price that I think need to be fleshed out. So these guys say it's the amount of money required to purchase something, a good or a service. Cost is the purchaser's viewpoint, so it has a negative connotation. Cost is bad, right? People don't want to spend a lot of money. The price would be the absolute dollar amount. Now, some people will say, and there's a famous Zig Ziglar quote where he purchased a bicycle for his son. Don't quote me on the numbers, but he spent like $45 on a generic bicycle brand. He could have spent $65 on a name brand. I think it was Schwinn. And so the price is $45 or $65. The cost, however, when he bought that $45 bike, it kept breaking, it needed repairs. He ended up spending over $100 for that same bicycle that the price was $45. Now, if he would have bought the better quality bike for $65, over the life of the bicycle, he would have spent less money. So cost is long-term. Cost is over the, useful life of the product or service, whereas price is just that absolute number. What dollars and cents am I going to pay for this product or service? So I hope this kind of brings a little bit of context into when we say know your value, what does that mean? Your value is different than your worth. Right? And I would never say your value. I would say the value of the product or service you're delivering. So if I have a professional baseball player and he had a rotator cuff repair and he wants to return to pitching, right? What is the value of getting him back in the game 2 or 3 games sooner than he would have otherwise been able to return? Well, if he's making $1 million a game, it's $3 million. What is that worth to him? What is he willing to pay to get him back 3 games sooner? The worth is always going to be less than the value. It has to be. You can't have worth that exceeds value. So maybe to him, the worth is $100,000, right? So if I can get him back, he can earn an extra $3 million. It's worth $100,000. Well, why isn't it worth $3 million? Because there's risk involved. And that's where the discrepancy comes in between value and worth. You have to price in risk. So what happens if I charge him $100,000 and I don't get him back in 3 games? Or I get him back early, he plays 1 game, he blows out his shoulder again, and now he's out for the rest of his career. This is the balancing act that we're talking about when we're looking at price, cost, value, and worth. Now let's get into the main topic here, which is how does all of this apply to bringing Medicare into your practice? So you, and I'm the royal you, we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, here's a practice owner. I won't say you. Here's a practice owner who says, this is the experience I want to provide. It's all one-on-one care. It's all, combination of manual therapy, the highest possible quality of physical therapy delivery. I laugh because everybody uses quality. And it's your time. You are the clinician delivering the service. So you're saying, what is an hour of my time worth to you, to the business owner, to the clinician? And you decide an hour of my time at this stage in my career, at this point in my life, is worth $250. Okay, how do I exceed $250 of value to deliver to the client? And how do I do it if a Medicare, let's just say a standard Medicare evaluation reimbursement after reductions, after everything, is $130? Okay, you want to deliver $250 of service. Medicare reimbursement is $130. Where does that fit into your business model? Well, if you're doing 40 Medicare visits a week, it doesn't fit in. You can't do it. Don't even try. Leave it for somebody else who has the vehicle behind them to do it. But let's take your situation and let's just say, for example, you don't have a full caseload and you have an extra 12 hours a week that you want to fill, and you've done everything you can to maximize your cash-based business, and you still have that 12-hour a week time frame that it's just time you have available that you can choose to do what you want to do with. Well, if you open that Medicare door, if you become a participating or non-participating provider, now all of a sudden you have access to a new demographic. Now, does that mean that you're going to accept every single Medicare referral you receive? No, absolutely. There is no law that says just because you're a Medicare provider, you must accept every single referral. And there's no law that says you must place those new Medicare patients in your prime spots on your schedule. But I've been in this business long enough. I know that you, just like me, just like so many others, have times on your schedule that just never seem to get filled. And the nice thing about Medicare beneficiaries is most of them aren't working. Most of them are retired. Most of them have availability and flexibility within their schedule. Now, do they want to work around your schedule? No, not usually. But that's where I go back to, you don't need to accept every single Medicare referral. So let's say you choose to open up certain time frames on your schedule that generally go unfilled. You know, for me, it's that 2:30 to 3:30 time. Like, kids aren't out of school yet. Adults aren't off work yet. My geriatrics who like morning sessions, it's a little too late for them. So nobody really takes those spots. And I want something to fill those spots that produces revenue. So I say, okay, if I receive a Medicare referral and determine the patient's appropriate for my practice, these are your options. You know, Mrs. Jones, I have a 2:30 available on Monday and Wednesday. Would you like to book it? No, I can't. I can only do 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones. We just don't have that available. This is the only time I have. If you like, I could refer you to another provider. You know, and that's it. So like, how worse for wear would you be if you weren't a provider for Medicare? You wouldn't be able to treat that beneficiary anyway. That time slot would probably go unfilled anyway. Now at least you have an opportunity. No, you're not going to make the 250 that you want to make, but maybe you make 130. Maybe you bring a person into your community who wouldn't otherwise have access to your level of service. Maybe this person has a social network, a family, a group of friends who also have, you know, orthopedic issues, neurological issues that they would like to receive care for. Maybe some of them are willing to pay your cash rate. So you can look at this as, you know, no, I can't. I'm losing money on a Medicare visit. There's no way I could do it to put me out of business. Yeah, if you did it exclusively and, you know, you want to provide this level of service, but you're losing money at this level of reimbursement and there's nothing in between, don't do it. But I would say that probably the majority of you out there, especially those of you getting started, who are trying to build momentum, who are trying to build a bankroll to support the business in the future, this is an ideal opportunity. And does it mean you have to be a Medicare provider for the rest of your life? Does it mean you have to accept lower reimbursing than you would otherwise receive from a cash pay client? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But if you're talking about the difference between 0 reimbursement for an hour versus 130 reimbursement for an hour versus the 250 that you're not getting, I think the picture is pretty clear. There is a place for people who want to grow their business, who want to find a way to start building community relationships, help the people in the community who need your help the most, and make this a win-win-win situation for everybody involved. So let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. I'd love to hear if this, you know, pushes a button for you, if this makes sense to you, if I've explained it clearly. Leave your comments in the video comments below. And guys, I reply to every comment, so it's not going to go unnoticed. If you get a minute, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to make a push to get over 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2019. Hopefully you can contribute to that effort and help us grow. In the meantime, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you on the next video.